Hello Year 3, welcome to another week of Maths at Home with Mrs Whitley. I hope you've had a lovely weekend and you're ready for your maths. In this lesson we're going to be looking at counting in 50s. Now in front of you will see a sequence of numbers: 50, 100, 150, 200, 250 and then 300. I want you to think about, what do you notice about this sequence? Is it ascending or is it descending? Remember that ascending is getting bigger and descending is getting smaller. What do you notice about the 10 in each of these numbers? You may notice that as we're moving in 50s, the 10 is either a 5 or a 0. In the last slide, we talked about the sequence and we thought about whether it was ascending or descending. We talked about what we noticed about the numbers as you're counting in 50s. Now on this slide, I've put 3 lots of sequences depending on your group, whether you're mild, spicy and hot, and I want you to have a go at completing the sequence by counting in 50s. On the next few slides, you will need to complete the number sequences in your book, add 50 to the given numbers, and then look at the sequence and see if you can find the odd number out, and see if you can explain why the number doesn't fit the sequence. On the slide in front of you, you will see that I have split the activities into mild and spicy plus. On the next slide, you will find a hot activity. You need to look at the number lines and see if you can find the missing numbers and write the missing numbers in your book. You will then need to look at the function machine where 50 is added in the middle, and you will need to write the total in your book also. On this slide, you will see that we're going to be counting in 100s. The first sequence is 500, 400, 300, 200, 100 and then 0. What do you notice about this sequence? Remember we talked about whether something's ascending or descending. Which one would you say this is? And then I want you to look at the second sequence on this slide. We've got 300, 400. What do you think the next 3 numbers are going to be? Just have a think about that and see what you notice. Well done. The second one is ascending. We've got 300, 400, and then the missing numbers will be 500, 600, and 700. And you may have noticed when we're counting in hundreds like this, it's only the 100 digit that is going to change. On the screen in front of you, you will need to write down the number of hundreds that you can see in each of the examples. So the top one shows a number grid with hundreds, tens and ones. You will need to decide how many hundreds there are on the grid and write the number in your book. On the second part of the slide, you will see some orange counters that show hundreds. You will need to decide how many hundreds there are and write the number in your book also. On this slide, you will need to decide whether the answer is true or false. The question is, does the image below show 700? So look carefully at what's in front of you and decide, does that show 700? True or false? On this slide, you will need to look at each of the numbers that are represented in A, B and C. The question is, which image is the odd one out and why? You need to be able to explain your answer. So look carefully at the numbers represented in A, look carefully at the ones in B and then C. See if you can work out the total and then explain your answer. This is our final slide on problem solving before you move into looking at completing the number sequences as your final task. So if you look at the screen in front of you, it says, Janie has written a statement about the image below. Do you agree? This number is 900. So have a look really carefully, see if you agree or you disagree, and explain your answer. In our lesson today, we're going to be looking at counting in fours and counting in eights. We are then going to be looking at sequencing to see if we can fill in the missing numbers using our counting in fours and eights to support this. Have fun! Let's count together in fours. So starting from the beginning, are you ready? Let's do it together. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36 and 40. See if you can do it now by closing your eyes without looking at the screen. Excellent, good job. Can you now try counting backwards? Let's do that together first, and then you can try that by yourself. 40, 36, 32, 28, 24, 20, 16, 12, 8 and 4. On the next slide, I want you to see how quickly you can fill in the missing numbers. Let's count in 8s together now. Are you ready? 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72 and 80. Let's try doing that backwards now. Are you ready? 80, 72, 64, 56, 48, 40, 32, 24, 16 and 8. Are you able to tell me what number comes after 40 if we're counting in 8s? What number comes before 24 if we're counting in 8s? Now I want you to look at the next slide and see if you can find the missing numbers as quickly as you can. Off you go. Well done, Year 3. You've got to the end of our week of maths together, of learning at home with Mrs. Whitley. Have a lovely weekend. Tomorrow is a bank holiday, but if you do want to do some work, you can log into Purple Mash or Mathletics. Take care, keep safe.
Wait, is that for next week?
Yeah.
Have I got bank holiday next week?
3, yeah.